And welcome back to the LEC playoffs. Saw Schalke bounce back after a loss to Rogue in game one with what was a very impressive composition. Their draft was, I've seen some people call it a draft nirvana. I don't think it was quite at that level, but it was a lot better than their game one draft, Eddie.
Some people may say
no,
it was...
No more accents! You
it
can,
was...
Okay, you can have nocturne facts or you can have accents. Choose.
It was...
No, choose.
Beautiful.
Kevin. Oh, dear.
Just a bit of fun.
I will not hit my cocoa.
We're just,
No,
we're just lighting in the moods, you know?
It's true.
The series resets now. We're 1-1.
Best of three.
Best of three. Obviously, a lot of learnings to be taken for both teams moving into the series. Things like Tristana, clearly a problem champion from the side of Schalke. But of course, it was Rogue that take that one away. Now, I'm going to speculate that Rogue have selected blue side.
They have.
Wow.
Good speculation.
I agree.
It's almost like Drakos said it in the last segment.
I mean, perhaps I just know these things, Medic.
Okay.
Just trust me. Now, while we may have run out of time to go through all of the knocked-in facts that I had remaining, perhaps it will get locked in again and we can continue that session. But in any case, what we can say for sure is that Schalke have come prepared with more draft options.
Yeah.
A lot of credit, I feel, needs to be given to BrokenBlade. He, in my opinion, really is diversifying the top lane meta. He's bringing us a lot of interesting picks. He's bringing us the Darius, the Aurelia, the Nocturne. He's willing to play it all, and I'm excited to see what else he can bring out. We're jumping into Game 3, so without further ado, let's jump into the draft.
Darkness! Okay, so Rogue on the blue side, as expected. It just gives you a few more options in the draft. Expectations is they will try and get their hands on one of the holy trinity of junglers, Hecarim, Udyr, or the Volibear. Of course, we have seen Inspired bring out the Lilio in game one as well. Also wonder if we're going to see a priority on the Rell. 2 out of 2 games so far in the series. It seems to just be so strong when it comes to team fighting.
Certainly is. Now, the Rolling Thunder will be taken off the board. Jinx also going to be removed. Schalke sticking with their bans. Thresh, Senna seem to be the go-to. Last time round, they did ban away the Lucian. Wow, I believe these are a mirror of our Game 1 bans. There's the Tristana ban. So they're leaving Lucian up and they're saying, you know what, Rogue? Go ahead. Yeah. We will give you Lucian. We're fine playing against it. But Rogue, they're shaking things up. The challenge now comes out. Now, this is important, because if Abbedagge does not pick Lucian here, Rogue have a slight edge in the draft, and they're like, aha! So you're not willing to play Lucian mid. That means they never have to ban it, and if they then go back onto the red side, then they have that slightly more flexibility, which is a really important thing as series develop.
Well, first up is going to be the Kai'Sa for Neon. Kai'Sa Rell, of course, a very strong duo in the bottom lane. But of course, we have seen the Xayah as a good match into the Kai'Sa. You could pick Lucian Xayah here if you desired.
I kind of just want to see something like an Ashe Alistar again. Yeah. You know what I mean? I think that these really long-range comps, they're just going to run it back with the more aggressive comps. So they don't think that... I mean, it's a gamble, right? Obviously, Hansam, a very talented, very, very talented Kalista player, and he showcased the last game. The problem that they had was the amount of dive that was coming on, and they're saying, well, you know what, we think this is a really good matchup in the 2 versus 2, so they're going to run it back. They're going to give it a little bit more time for Larssen and Odoamne to get the counter picks, but you can see, obviously, the biggest difference now is Schalke don't have a Hecarim diving onto you. But, you can still lock in Nocturne mid, and you can still have all that dive threat on top of the Kalista, and you can run the same composition that you had last game. So, yeah, I think that I'm still a little worried. I would like to see Rogue ban Nocturne. I think that they should, especially if they want to blind pick Nah, which, like, they've already proven that BrokenBlade's happy to play that matchup, and I think it's a good one for the Nocturne, and it was a problem for them last game.
It's true. It was as much as your joyous expression. kind of distracts a little bit sometimes from the fact that Nocturne is as good a champion as he is. He was definitely a thorn in the side of Rogue in the last game. Karma banned away by Schalke. They don't want a repeat of game 1 with Odoamne just picking a safe top laner. Schalke, of course, have counter pick for top here. If they want it, can also try and counter pick mid lane, but the expectation is, there we go. Rogue respecting the Nocturne.
I'm smart. No, I think it's good because I think that Kalista's biggest problem is that when you have that much diving onto you, you can't kite. You kind of want to play a front to back almost because you can then use your mobility. And I think playing against things like an Udyr, I don't think Udyr is the easiest thing to play against as a Kalista, but it's much easier than playing against a Hecarim Nocturne, that's for sure.
True.
So they're going to remove that from the pool. Irelia also going to be taken off the board. A part of me was thinking maybe a Scion here for Rogue, but if you're banning Irelia, I'm trying to think of what else Irelia could be good into, because obviously the Nara's already been banned away. So when you kind of think in order of top lane, right, you go, okay, Nara is good blind, but Irelia is a good into Nara, but with Nara already gone, what else could Irelia be good into top lane, especially with the Karma already banned away? Perhaps they're thinking of another, still, blind, blind Viktor. Like, these teams want a safe control mage mids to lock in. I get it. Still not a fan.
I mean, Azir exists as well, and Larssen could just pick it here if he wants into the Viktor.
I think they could also do Rise.
Yeah.
If they wanted to. I think Rise isn't terrible.
I mean, Larsen's Rise, like, I remember him in summer 2020 absolutely popping off on that champion in the playoffs, right? So
Twisted Fate, also not terrible here.
Syndra instead is going to be the lock in here for Rogue. So deciding to go back to one of those more traditional burst mages in the mid lane.
Sorry, I saw Trymbi and I was like, I'm in solo queue. It's, yeah, funnily enough, we were talking about Syndra this morning. About how, like, I was asking, where's she gone? You know, she actually hasn't been nerfed since last year. 10.6 or something was her last nerf. Or 16, sorry, something like that. Okay. But she was, she hasn't been nerfed at all this year. Oh, Scion's still open, though. Okay, I'll come to that in a second. But I think that Syndra can still be good. I know that some teams think that with the current itemization, she doesn't have the best. She doesn't have the best itemization to really be played in the current meta. So, but it seems that Larssen is going to pick her up. I wonder if we'll see the Everfrost Syndra. I think it can be pretty good. But the Urgot, considered a relatively safe, strong top side. But normally that's when Scion is banned. Because I think Scion is such a strong counter to the Urgot, I'm actually surprised that we don't see it. Schalke is clearly saying, well, this suggests that BrokenBlade either doesn't play the Scion, doesn't want to play the Scion, or that perhaps Schalke just want more dive. When you are running the Rell and the Kai'Sa, you want things that can threaten the backline, and BrokenBlade, to me, is saying, hey, you know, we could pick Scion, and I could win top, or I could just pick a matchup where I know I have, like, stacking armor, because that's what Wukong does, and then I can still threaten things like the Kalista, and I can make it hard for the Kalista to actually play the game. It's interesting. I'm not entirely sure on how this top lane matchup goes. I feel like Urgot just naturally wins most top lane matchups. Yeah, it feels like you just shotgun knee into the Wukong's face a lot of the time. Yeah, so we'll have to wait and see. I do prefer Rogue's comp a little bit more, but I want to see it a little bit more in action. You know, I think early game power, Rogue definitely have some advantages that they can leverage. And if they get off to a good early start that they were able to get in game 1, I think that they're in a great position to be able to run away with the game. It comes back to how impactful can this top lane be for BrokenBlade? Can Limit get out on the map and find the same plays that he did before? We're going to see a lot of team fights once again. That is the meta right now. And I'm excited as we jump into game 3.
And on to Summoners if we go. So just to recap, if you're only joining us at Game 3 of the series, Game 1, Odoamne got put behind. BrokenBlade got a Flame Horizon and 2 kills. But Hans Sama was too strong when the game went on and was just too powerful for Schalke to deal with. Game 2, Odoamne got put behind. BrokenBlade got into a lead and then used that lead to get towards mid lane, set up Abbedagge for success. And Schalke played the team fights better. So, my expectation, Vedius, and this might seem a little bit far-fetched.
Okay.
I feel like Odoamne is going to get put behind.
Do you reckon?
I feel like Schalke might focus some attention up towards the top lane. It has been what they've been doing throughout the rest of the series. However, with Gilius starting on his red buff, it looks like perhaps he might have other plans as he'll work red down towards the bottom side and maybe try and get Neon and Limit snowballing.
Okay, so we do have a leashless start in the bot lane for Neon and Limit. This gives them the ability to move into these brushes and set up what many people would call cheese. Basically, the idea is to attack Rogue as they return to lane, but they're not going to do that. Instead, they're going to try and... They're not even going to stack the wave. They're just going to go for the early push. Okay, so their priority is the early level 2. Not that weird. Often you'll see this for many bot lanes, because the sooner you get level 2, the sooner you have control of the lane. And overall, it's a win for the 2 versus 2 matchup. Limit is going to clear that one out. And yeah, so this is fine. Ooh, already some trading up towards the top side. Many Urgot will start with the E because of that early shielding. But I'm looking at these junglers right now. Because BrokenBlade did give a pull to Gilius, obviously the opposite is happening on the top side. Yep. So Odoamne is going to get that early level 2. He's going to be able to get the push, which means that Gilius, with him pathing towards bot, is not going to be there to cover. So the thing that BrokenBlade have to be careful of is a potential dive. Wukong is not the easiest person to dive in the early game, but still something that he has to be considerate of, because this wave is starting to stack. The cannon wave is going to come through. Inspired's already about to clear his Raptors. So there is that risk.
You can see him respecting it as well. Puts a ward in the Tribush just in case Inspired was on his way up. BrokenBlade already with the Doran shield here in the lane as well. Kind of indicates that he expects to be on the losing side of this matchup for a little while. There's shotgun knees from the Pajama Guardian, whatever that is.
It's style, Medic. That's what that is.
I understand your sense of style a little bit more now, I'll be honest. He's just going to be forced underneath the tower quite often. Gilius has gone for a full clear, is currently on his Gromp and will work down towards that bottom Scuttle Crab you have to expect.
Yep. Nothing too crazy. The only crazy thing that could happen is Hansama and Trymbi try to fight Gilius. Oh, in fact, Gilius is just going to fight the bot lane.
Well, they are pushed in. This wave is pushing in. Limit going in for the flash knockup. There's the attract repel. The stun with the flash bear slap. Hansama has nowhere to go. And Schalke strike first.
Nicely done. I mean, Rogue should have anticipated this. Yep. Like, you knew where he started. The fact that I'm not sure how the wave ended up that way. Okay, we know that, actually I'm not even sure if Neon and Limit got the early level 2. It was looking like it at the very early stages, but the fact that Limit and Neon somehow got in a position where the wave was pushing in their favor while there is no jungle assistance. Oh, here we go. Rogue now looking for a dive.
Abbedagge has the flash if he needs it. Doesn't even need Inspired. No, just ghosts in. Larssen had no mana, as you say, Vedius. And although Inspired was able to find a gank in the mid lane, he didn't really get much out of it.
No, he did not. So Schalke off to a good start. Find an advantage in the 2v2 bot. Flash in from BrokenBlade. He wants this kill.
Odoamne with the disdain is able to get away. He will flash underneath the tower. BrokenBlade obviously can't follow, but we're seeing Schalke winning across the board in the lanes here, Vedius. A 500 gold lead for them now. Obviously, that first blood is going to assist in that. But when you have things like a Kalista Gragas bot lane, the expectation is that that team should win out early doors.
Yeah, it's just a huge mistake, I feel, coming out from the Rogue bot lane. Now, this could be awkward for BrokenBlade, because the reason why he was able to find that good trade was because he based, TP'd back, came back to lane with an item advantage. Now, though, his wave is in a very awkward spot, and he needs his jungler to come clear it. Okay, really valuable solo Q-tip. This happens a lot in top lane and in mid lane, and sometimes you need your jungler to help push out the wave, otherwise it's going to get frozen on your laner, and then you end up in a very sticky situation. One of the cool things that Damwon did last year was actually Beryl would roam, and he would help laners fix so that Canyon could just keep farming. You know, we made a funny joke called Ring the Barrel. That's what he would do, and he would help. So some of the cool things that supports can also impact, but that was super important for BrokenBlade because of where his wave was, and because he'd already used his TP earlier. The fact that he didn't get that kill onto Odo meant that he invested a huge amount, and his wave was in a very awkward spot. So you can see that, like, he's being punished now for it. That was a good trade. If he'd gotten that kill onto Odoamne, it could have been huge, but now he's actually just down 20 CS. He's going to come back to lane with, what was that? He actually just picked up a refillable pot. Meanwhile, Odoamne working towards a Titanic Hydra. Do you imagine first item? So top side, definitely in favor of Odoamne for the time being. And that bot lane CS, even though Hansama off to a bit of a rough start, is going to bounce back.
And as much as we have seen BrokenBlade getting the better of Odoamne so far this series, as TP comes down towards the bottom lane, we'll talk about that graphic later. Limit is already dead. Neon next on the menu. Larssen looking for the scatter of the week here. Flash, unleash power. Scatter of the week connects as well. Neon is dead. That TP bot lane from Rogue paying dividends.
Some cool alcove gaming there coming out from Rogue. Very deep ward allowed for Larssen to be able to TP flank in behind. He pushed out mid, and he may very well lose a plate for it, but it looks like Inspired is going to come in and catch that wave. So very well executed overall from Rogue. They knew that Abbedagge had no TP to counter, and ultimately this resulted in a big advantage. So let's have a look at this engage coming out. Limit and Neon just trying to push out the wave. They know that jungler's in the bot side of the map, and a really good interrupt there from Trymbi as he flashes in and then uses his E to get their interrupter as well. And then Larssen flashing, ulting so that he has 4 balls on the ground to then set up for the stun. Neon tried to sidestep it, but it wasn't enough. And this is a situation where Gilius was on the bot side of the map. He started the Drake, I believe. So Schalke thought that they were safe to push this, and they would have been. However, the TP from behind is what interrupted everything. So really good play from Rogue to put them now at a 1k gold.
Yeah, and we literally just went from Schalke being 500 gold ahead to now Rogue being 1,000 gold ahead. 30 seconds ago, I was praising Schalke for getting early lane leads, and now they are behind in bot by 500 gold. They're behind in mid by 400 gold. Top lane is 200 gold behind. Only the jungle in the lead for Schalke. Only Gilius with an advantage. And Hansama and Trymbi could actually look to freeze that wave again as it pushes in towards them. It's going to be a little tricky, but their next wave is coming. It's very hard for Neon and Limit to actually step up here. So
no flash on Neon means that he's in danger, but no flash on Larssen.
Got the scatter of the week though, pretty easy for him to get away. Inspire coming in with the onslaught of shadows. Limit knocked back, and Limit will fall. Does still have the flash. They're trying to give the kill over to Hansama here, and with at least 5 spears in the back of the horse, Limit will fall. Hansama gets his first kill of the game.
That was like that really dramatic moment, you know, where you kind of look back at your friend, like in the movie, you know, and then he's just like, it's too late.
You hear my heart will go on in the distance.
Yeah. And then just that brief pause, because obviously Hansama was walking away at this point as BrokenBlade gonna ult in.
Double cyclone? Shield from the Disdain is enough for the moment, but BrokenBlade is definitely winning this. Odoamne needs another shotgun knee, doesn't have it. Fear Beyond Death, not enough. BrokenBlade wins out the 1v1 in the top lane.
Well, today I learned Wukong can smash Urgot in a 1v1. Yep. So that's interesting insight. Very well played by him. Good stun nice coming out, but then a nicer interrupt from Inspired using the E. And it's just kind of this situation. Look, Hansama has the daggers are in him. Limit's like walking away, and he thinks that he's safe. Well, actually, he knows he's not safe. He knows that his demise is not a matter of time.
When you as a support look like a porcupine, you're pretty sure you're done. Right? Like, it's pretty sure you're dead in that situation. Inspired with the Lucidity Boots, going to clear out the Scuttle Crab here. And Gilius must have, he must be sitting on some gold right now, because he's got a Barmy Syndra and level 1 boots. Yeah, sitting on a grand 300 gold. So he needs to go back and spend that so he can actually match up against his jungle opponent. Hansama now pushed up towards the top lane with the withheld available, and of course Kalista's ability to secure objectives. The expectation has to be that Rogue will look not only for plates, but also for this first Herald of the game.
Neon and Limit are able to match in the swamp, though. They will be able to catch this top wave, of course. Still very far behind in CS. The bot lane has not been a great experience for Schalke in this series. They've been able to bounce back, last game especially, but the early game, Rogue have really tried to punish them, and they've done a great job of it. Larssen going to use his push in mid to now rotate up their pressure. The question is, will they look for a dive or will they look for the Herald? And it looks like Herald is going to be the play.
I mean, there's a difference in level of experience of these bot lanes as well. Although Trymbi is a rookie, Hansama has made it to an LEC final. He was there when Misfits faced off against G2 all those years ago. So his knowledge of just the level of intensity that can happen in playoff series is definitely there. And he's been able to get these laning leads. However, Neon and Limit have done well when they've been able to get out of the lane. Neon, especially in the last game, had some very good Kai'Sa performances in team fights. Limit continually setting up plays for his team, but his issue is when he's stuck here. This is the problem for Schalke. If Limit has to stand by Neon's side to make sure he doesn't dive, it means he's not elsewhere on the map. He's not having the same performance that he had against Fnatic because he can't influence mid lane. He can't influence top lane. He can't manage to get in and get those engages off for Schalke across the rest of the map.
Well, he's going to reset, and already he's looking to be out on the map. Notice that with Viktor actually being able to push in the mid wave, Udyr hovering around bots, it looks like that they're going to go for the Drake. It's not going to go for the Drake. surprised. They're not going to go for the Drake. Okay, well, I'm not sure why. I guess because they didn't have enough information on where Rogue was, but they definitely should now. And with the pressure that BrokenBlade has, I feel like that they could just secure this Drake. But it's surprised me how in this series Schalke have actually put very little value on getting a very early Drake.
Yeah. I mean, we saw it in game 1 as well, right? Riftel was taken, they just left the dragon. Yeah,
it was the first Drake went down to like 13 minutes or something ridiculous.
And it was a Mountain Drake as well.
Yeah.
I don't actually think that has any stead in the fact that they're deciding not to do it. I was just bringing up the coincidence.
How many plays did they actually get top lane? I missed it.
They got 1.
Oh.
If you look at the minimap, you can see the 4.
Oh, they didn't use the Herald. Oh, my bad. Sorry.
So Inspired Reset went down towards bottom side. I was wondering if he was going to actually use the Herald towards bottom.
Excuse me, sir. Did you just say if you look at the minimap, you can see
you
Kai'Sa was on top of the thing, which is why I asked us to pan up.
So do you know how I saw it? I looked at the minimap and checked.
Okay.
Sorry, I just have better map awareness than you. It's what comes from being a support main. I'm not Nocturne and just black out the map for everyone whenever I can.
Well, look who doesn't have the best map awareness is Hansama getting collapsed on, no flash, no team. I think he's dead.
Hansama does have flash right now, as you can see from the side of your screen, but he is still dead. He does try and flash away, but the heal isn't enough. Scatter the weak from Larssen will be able to lock up a couple against the wall, and you can see Odoamne in the midst of 5 players from Schalke. Odoamne overextends, trying to save his AD carry.
Yep, the whole family arrived in the top lane, ready to get that kill onto Hansama, and they found a special guest in Odoamne that they were able to shut down. So a big misstep there from Hansama that Schalke really benefited from, because Neon, he doesn't get any kills, which is unfortunate, but he will alleviate so much pressure. That Herald is now not going to get dropped in the top lane. You could just look at the mini-map, you can see this is one of those... It's one of those situations where you have to appreciate your team is not in a position to support you. Like, Hecarim is not going to get there fast enough. The TPs come down at just the right time for Schalke. Abbedagge is also going to pick up that kill, which is definitely going to help him on the Viktor. And yeah, everything worked out nicely for Schalke.
And the important thing for Schalke is Larssen and Odo invested their TPs to that as well. You could say if Schalke just TP'd in Abbedagge and BrokenBlade and Rogue hadn't answered the TP, well then Rogue have some map pressure for the next little while. But because Larssen and Odo joined the fight up towards the top side, now all the TPs in the game are down, and Schalke can just look to rinse and repeat that sort of play once again, especially since now Hansama has no flash, has no heal, doesn't have those summoner spells. Larssen going to be gifted the gold from these top side tower plates. A bit of that will go into Inspired's back pocket as well.
I will say it's a bit of a shame for Rogue that Hansama does not get that money, because that was the whole game plan, right?
Yep.
Keep this Kai'Sa getting accelerated, keep the money flowing. But yeah, because of that early game shenanigans, they needed to... that last play, really. Hansama is forced to swap back towards the bot side, and now Gilius is here to steal away some camps and also threaten a dive himself. But Inspired is able to respond. Urgot on the way down as well. No TP available on BrokenBlade means Rogue could look for a fight.
And BrokenBlade just catching that wave in the top lane.
Can we quickly look at this top wave?
Is he freezing?
Oh, we might not have time.
As well. Inspired going in. There's the onslaught of shadows, and Neon knocked back, stunned up. Can't really go anywhere. Great explosive cast there from Trymbi. And Limit once again looking a bit like Sonic the Hedgehog. Spikes on his back, and Summer gets the double.
Okay, wow. So, BrokenBlade is freezing top wave. He's trying to deny as much farm as possible from Odoamne. The question is, what can Rogue get off the back of it? We saw the advantage gained in the bot lane. Odoamne wasn't really involved in the play, though. So there are 2 options. You can either have your team help you push out that wave and break the freeze, or you can use the numbers advantage to try and force things like maybe a dive on mid, maybe a dive on sides. And it looks like right now, Gilius, no, I was going to say he's caught out Inspired, but he hasn't at all. It's this is Inspired. This is, it's like race cars. Unfortunately, not able to lock it down. So, that is a Hecarim gang. Basically just runs you down.
This cast was beautiful.
Very well done from Trymbi there. His ultimate, I think, just cut off the potential flash escape route from Limit, but he didn't want to bother wasting that summoner spell. He knew that he wasn't getting out of that one, so instead just goes down. That will be 2 kills onto Hansama, and he is going to be very happy about that. Can we have a quick look at the top lane once again? So this wave will push now.
Yeah, just too many minutes.
But can we now look at the gold? 500 gold difference, okay? So part of that has come from the freeze. The bigger advantage is the level difference. And Odoamne, like, he's kind of wandering around the map and doesn't really have actually that much that he can do. He knows that the wave is eventually coming to him. But like, fair play to BrokenBlade. That was a good freeze. Like, the worst thing that they lost was the bot lane trade, which he couldn't have done anything about anyway. But I guess the counter argument is because 3 to 4 members were committed bot, Schalke could have, in theory, invested a cross-map top and then gotten the top tower. So while the freeze does net a small advantage, there could have potentially been bigger ones. Yeah. Hard to say whether or not that, of course, would have happened.
I mean, one is guaranteed gold if you freeze properly, and one is the possibility of future gold as the TP comes in here to the top lane. Odoamne down to about half HP with BrokenBlade, even with the Cyclone, isn't doing enough, and Gilius feels the power unleashed on his back as Larssen gets the kill.
Oh, so the fact that Larssen has Ionian boots meant that his TP just came up before Abbedagge's. Abbedagge's only just came up now. So he was able to TP answer that play, turn it into a 3 versus 1. Now they need flash engage mid.
Abbedagge tries to flash away. Magnet Storm coming out from limit as well. Locked up there onto Trymbi. Explosive cast knocks Abbedagge only to the side, as you say. Abbedagge with a good sidestep to make sure that...
Oh, I was looking at limit, actually. Yeah.
Oh, well, Abbedagge step to the side, limit step back. Both of them able to escape the explosive cast.
Those Danceless is paying off for the mid support from Schalke.
We could have him in the next music video.
Perhaps. We'll have to wait and see. Is Neon now in danger?
Yeah, you just can't get away from Kalista like this. Even the heal is not enough movement speed, and Hans Sommer
he flashed!
Okay.
You know what? He tried to flash out of range.
Yep. Or out of vision, but there's a control ward in that bush for Rogue. So
it hurts.
No way you're getting away from that.
Now he has no sums. Oh, poor Neon. Poor Neon. So Inspired was ready for this.
Oh, this is so smart.
A wave was stacking up, and I'm not sure how, I honestly don't know how he knows this, right? You know, we were just talking about how maybe the cross-map play could have happened, but of course, the Inspired, that bot lane play happened years ago now. He could have already been anywhere else on the map. But he was just sitting bot lane waiting. He was literally just expecting this play to happen.
I guess the thing about it was, you saw the minimap during the replay, none of his camps were up. No objective was on the bottom side of the map. Rift Herald was up, so he could have gone and tried to fight towards that, but maybe Inspired was like, hey, just in case it happens,
his
I'm
brain
not
is
getting
just
anything.
too big. Odoamne's brain is too big. Oh no, oh no, oh no.
Oh no, dear me. Neon dead once again, even the Killer Instinct won't save him. I will say, Neon used the far side alteration to check the tri-bush by the Rogue Tower there. If he'd just done it in the bush in front of him, would have been fine. But once again, Hans Sommer now totally taking over the game. 5-2-2 on this Kalista. Inspired playing a fair hand in that as well. The best jungler from the regular season. And what can you do? There's just nothing you can do against this. Gilius knocked back, will flash back underneath this tower. But even without their Kalista, Hans Sommer on the flank, not something you usually say about an AD carry. Gilius has to run away. Fate's call will bring Trymbi back, and he'll just decide the tower is enough. Rogue now 5,000 gold ahead, and it's looking very much like a repeat of game 1, Vedius.
Really good collapse into mid from Rogue. They push out sides, collapse into mid, and while Odoamne does lose some farm in the top lane, it doesn't matter. They overall benefit from it. Gilius, oh, he's fine. He's fine. Yep, so overall, Rogue absolutely dominating. Excuse me, after that TP play in top lane where Schalke were able to get a couple kills, were able to reclaim control over the gold, it's just kind of been the Inspired show, right? And I think this game we've really gotten to see like why he is considered an MVP candidate. Like the guy is really smart. That sometimes his plays are not as obvious because like it's a lot about jungle pathing, it's a lot about how he uses pressure, his positioning on the map, and in a live game, a lot of those things can be difficult to track, difficult to see, but I think here we saw a very tangible, very obvious play that he was able to have an impact on, and I don't know where that came from. I don't know how he knew, whether he was just like super mega galaxy 5-head brain and he is in the mind of Gilius, or if it was just comms with Odo where he said, hey, they could dive me, and he's like, okay, I'll just cover. And just in case, we have TP in mid so we can counter as well. Like, it could be as simple as that. It could be as complex as, I saw the way he looked at his monitor and I figured out from the trajectory of the wind, I don't know. But in any case, it was a great play, really good stuff from Inspired. 0-0-5 on the Hecarim, as Trymbi's found another engage. And
Hans Sommer is here. The explosive cast will knock them back. Gilius doesn't have the flash. Limit diving in with the Magnet Storm. They're trying to catch out Hans Sommer. Trymbi's still alive. Hans Sommer still alive. Exhausted. Survives somehow, dodging away from the Chaos Storm. In the end, Hans Sommer will go down. But how much has been sacrificed here by Schalke? Larssen flashes away from BrokenBlade. Odo picks up a double kill. Inspired, not with his team this time. Instead secures the Cloud Drake. Ends up being a 3-2 in favor of Schalke.
In a 4 versus 5, though. That's the most important thing. Double teleport was used on Schalke. They were ready to fight, but in a numbers disadvantage, Rogue were able to equalize the kills. Now, from Schalke's perspective, this is pretty good, considering how far behind you are right now. Getting these type of fights, getting these shutdowns is really valuable, and the TP comes in quick from Rogue. I believe the initial one is from Syndra. And I would argue this is a bit of a mistake from Hansama, the fact that he committed to this fight in the first place. But you can see Abbedagge's TP is in such a good position to just burst out Hansama. Meanwhile, BrokenBlade is doing damage on the backline. Odoamne now realizes that there's just so much CC sucking him up and there's nothing that he can do to move. And yeah, Rogue. I think the reason why it was dangerous is because you know Inspired isn't there to assist, right? That's why Schalke was playing through the top side of the map. That's why Gilius was there, because they were making the cross-map play, playing for that tier 1 in the top lane. But you don't have your jungler, so you're always going to be at a numbers disadvantage. And they still maintain the gold lead. Rogue still get themselves the Drake. So you could argue, not the end of the world. And Larssen still has 500 gold shutdown that didn't go away. So maybe it's not that bad. Maybe I'm being too critical. But I think that's one of those situations where Hansama and Trymbi probably didn't need to fight.
Exactly, right? It's one of those, you think you can burst limit quickly enough, but you can't quite do it, and then Schalke are willing to invest into the fight. Ludens and Zhonya's now complete on Abbedagge. He's well past that early game lull that Viktor has.
Sorry, every time we hover over Neon, I'm like, oh no, Hansama's here again. Observers have conditioned us to believe.
Hansama is in mid lane, and as much as Fate's Call is a strong ultimate, I don't think they made it a global as of yet, Vedius.
Yes, but like, if I'm Neon, like, Hansama's in my head, do you know what I mean?
I've just thought of the genius play. Nocturne support, Kalista. You paranoia in, and if you're ever going to die, she Fate's Calls you out.
So I have a really funny story about that, which I'll talk about later. But yes, that could be effective, perhaps.
I don't think it will be effective. It will be funny, though.
I mean, everything with Nocturne is effective.
It's just not what your LP says.
True. Now, Larssen is pathing up towards the top to just allow Odoamne to go back to base. Right now, they're just sending a vision around Baron. No Drake for 2 minutes and a half. And yeah, no real objective to play for, as Rogue have taken all the outer towers. Schalke would love to get their hands on any towers at this point. But the one thing I will say is my question mark is like, what does Schalke's scaling look like? We might not have time. Abbedagge might be dead.
Onslaught of Shadows coming in. Inspired trying to dive in. Gilius there with the bear stun, and Inspired healed up, shielded up just enough with the Locket and the Summoner heal from Hansama to get himself out.
Bit of an aggro play there from Inspired. Cost him his Ghost and his ult, and the rest of the team wasn't really in a position to follow. Abbedagge didn't have to invest anything, and they will come out on top. But it's also one of those, like, zero loss plays, because there's nothing else on the map. There's nothing that Rogue have to be worried about that they need that ultimate for. So he's like, hey, look, can we actually have a quick look? Can we click on Inspired, have a look at when his Ghost is actually going to be up?
Back up
124, yeah, 2 minutes. So it just a little bit after the Drake spawns, but still his ultimate will definitely be up in time for that, which means that, yeah, it's one of those plays where, like, you don't get hurt if you make that play. You know what I mean? And sometimes I think in these mid games, it's worth making those plays, you know?
I mean, you do get hurt if you die.
Yes, of course.
So you did almost die, and they did have to burn the heal for it. So
I mean, it could have been bad.
It could have been bad, but it wasn't.
But it wasn't bad.
Yeah, it wasn't.
And I prefer teams make those plays rather than, you know, sit around and do nothing.
Oh, like, definitely. It's always nice to see a little bit of productivity.
Sitting around doing nothing doesn't get you anything.
A good Sunday afternoon.
You know what I mean?
Watching the LEC.
It is. But you're doing something. You're watching the LEC.
Okay. What is actually doing? So do you have to stop your heart? Can you blink? Am I allowed respiration?
Yeah, I would define farming as doing nothing, okay? That's what I would say.
Those wonderful men that plant carrots.
Okay, no, I meant in League of Legends.
Vedius, that's a whole profession.
I meant in League of Legends. Obviously, agriculture is very important, of course.
Can't believe you disrespected the scarecrows like that.
No, hang on, scarecrows.
They're part of a farmer's toolkit.
They're okay, but they don't.
They have to be created. What do you think farmers do on a Sunday afternoon when they're watching the LEC? Gilius going for a stun here in the mid lane as Larssen has been caught out. Limit trying to get in there as well. There's a shutdown onto Larssen. That gold going across now. Odoamne has been caught off towards the bottom side. Trymbi trying to get away. Onslaught of Shadows used by Inspired, but he's been stunned up in the gravity well as well. And BrokenBlade now goes on a rampage. Caught out underneath the tower, though he will get killed. And that's a little bit more than farming there from these two teams. Schalke get 2 kills and can turn their eyes towards the 3rd dragon of the game and stop Rogue from stacking up to that soul.
Really good use of teleports once again. Schalke have been on the money when it comes to TPs this game, and they were able to get ahead of the play when it comes to this matchup. Now,
Fear Beyond Death is available.
They are setting up for the Drake. That's going to melt. This is going to disappear.
It's stolen away by Inspired, and now the fight really begins. Odoamne trying to do what he can. Fear Beyond Death. He's going to get the fear back. Gilius just out of range. Hansama diving as much as he can, but he's going to get stunned up. Lockdown, and the shutdown goes over to Neon.
Okay, so the question becomes, was this worth it? Because of course now the next Drake is extremely important. Rogue have made it to Soul Point, but a lot of people died. Can we have a quick look at the money, observers? Oh, no, we'll look after the replay. So let's just look at this engage. So Rogue is just trying to push out mid. Schalke is able to come in from behind. The chem tank comes in from Gilius and they lock down the Syndra. One of the weaknesses of Syndra, of course, is when she doesn't have flash. Even though she did have flash, it can be difficult to escape from some of these high mobility dive carries. And a BrokenBlade, while he does go a little bit deep, at the end of the day, that's the team fight one. Schalke is then setting up for the Drake. They think that this is easy. And let's have a look at Inspired here.
Just runs in.
Runs in, yeah, 575. I don't think Gilius even smited.
What level is this? 12? Inspired was a level up, I think?
13, yeah. Even still, at 575, that's smite range for both.
I believe so, yeah.
Hansama gets a little too close to Gilius, is able to land that stun, locks him down. But yes, thank you, observers. So, mid lane, slightly ahead for Abbedagge. Top lane, even. Jungle, even. AD carries, still very far behind. So I think that it's definitely been beneficial, but with that bot lane deficit, I think that Neon still has a ways to go, but he's getting there. 2.5 items are finished. Even though he has been so heavily punished, he is continuing to ramp up, and I think that Schalke are not entirely out of this game just yet.
Hansama does have his Ginsu's Rageblade now complete on the Kalista, though, and if he has the opportunity to free fire, he can rip through Schalke. And Limit continues to find engage after engage. 0-5-11 on the Rell. Has played it 3 times, I believe. Oh no, twice this series. Had some great Magnet Storms in Game 2. And Schalke fighting back. 1,000 gold between the two teams now. They get their first tower of the game at the 27.5-minute mark. And the thing with Viktor is Vedi, early game he can be a little bit weak. You can't really get prior with him, but when you get towards 3 or 4 items, when you have AoE control in teamfights, you put down a Chaos Storm, that just ticks and ticks and ticks and ticks, and you don't realize how much damage Viktor is doing in some of these fights.
I mean, Viktor does become a beast in the late game. That's kind of like his purpose. Obviously, my biggest criticism of him is his early game priority. It's so weak that you can end up in pretty significant early deficits.
Like Schalke did this game.
He's been able to weather the storm. 3-1-6. Abbedagge once again having a good game. I'm still looking at BrokenBlade though. For me, he's the player that I'm keeping my eyes on in this game because on this Wukong, he's obviously very strong. But he's going to be the backline threat that Neon is relying on to set him up to then dive in and then one-shot this Kalista. Because I'm still not convinced by the Kalista, my man. Yep. I think that it can be strong, and they've done a great job of snowballing Hansama, but in a team fight meta, I feel I feel Kalista can be very difficult to play. And last game, we obviously saw the amount of dive that was coming through from Schalke, made it impossible for Hansama to ever really play the game. And while there is less crowd control, I still don't think it's easy. I think that there's a lot of utility, a lot of damage that's ready to jump on top of him and shut him down. So, I'm going to be keeping my eyes. Hansama versus BrokenBlade. For me, the gold is basically even now. After that big fight in mids, Schalke have been able to claw their way back from what I think was like a 5k gold. Do we have the gold
4K.
graph?
It's 4k, I believe. Currently, you can see the big gold difference is 1,500 between the two AD carries. Top basically even. Gilius has about 1,000 gold lead himself. Rest of the lanes are basically even. And Vedius, call me Nostradamus, but I can predict a team fight. 1 minute away. Infernal Dragon. The Soul open for Rogue. Infernal Soul with their comp would work so darn well. And you can see Gilius and Limit already stepping forward here, trying to gain control. Winning Game 3 of a series is always such a momentum shift when it's 1-1. You know you are just 1 game away from victory. 5,105 was the lead for Rogue. That has been closed, chipped away by Schalke. Perhaps surprisingly so, but Schalke have been nothing but surprising so far this playoffs. Beating Fnatic, taking G2 to 5 games, and now looking to take down the #2 team from the regular season. BrokenBlade was on a ward. The flank didn't quite work out, but Schalke have control of the river. Hansama pushing through mid lane.
The waves are a little bit awkward right now. Bot has been pushed in by the side of Schalke. Oh, bit of damage coming down. Trymbi gonna proc his phase rush. Tense moment between the two teams. Soul on the line. This could be the deciding fight. Larssen starting to stack up the balls. You can see he's got 2-3 right now.
Abbedagge starts it up. BrokenBlade goes in with the Cyclone already. There's the Magnet Storm, but Larssen's able to pop the Stoppage just in time. Trymbi still alive somehow. BrokenBlade pulled back with a bit beyond death. Inspire tries to get onto Neon in the backline. Handsummer's still alive. Larssen's still alive. And those 2 key carries for Rogue, able to survive through the burst. Oh! The weak have been scattered by Larssen. Abbedagge will kill him in the end, but the shutdown comes back. Limit the last man standing there for Schalke. And Larssen just swipes away Schalke's hope with a flick of his wrist.
What an intense team fight between the two teams, fighting for that shot at G2 in the semi-finals next week. The dive onto Larssen was perfect. He went for Death Cap. I thought he wouldn't have a stopwatch, but it comes out just in time. He was so dead here. Everyone on Schalke was committed to killing him, and Handsummer was being in a 1v1 against Neon, so he was kind of zoned out of the fight, but then Larsen's actually able to survive. Then he goes back into this brush, and Schalke just forgets about him. Look, they just line up for him to just decimate the backline. And while Abbedagge does get something back, it's too little, too late. It's going to be the Infernal Soul. It's going to be the Baron. Schalke, a really promising engage, but it does not result in victory. And it means that Rogue end up coming out on top.
And although the gold had evened out, Rogue still had those objectives they'd taken earlier. The stacking Drakes forced Schalke to have to take that fight. And because Rogue went out on it, they now have Infernal Soul. They now have the Baron buff for the next couple of minutes. And the expectation is they should be able to get at least up to the inhibitor line, if not break one of those inhibitor towers in these next 3 minutes of gameplay.
Well, the funny thing is, Rogue now have a pretty short-range comp, and with the amount of wave clear on Abbedagge, it's going to be difficult. One of the advantages with the Syndra, the threat of a stun is always very real, so defending against the champion can be difficult, but I want to see Rogue attack through 2 lanes.
BrokenBlade, sorry, Odoamne's in the bottom lane. I see Urgot, I think BrokenBlade.
I want to wait, Rogue. Don't push this wave just yet. You want to make sure that you're clearing it out. Nice, good, good, good. Wait for the wave to, okay, never mind. I think it's fine, no, it's fine, it's fine. They'll have both waves crashing in about the same time, which is what you're looking for. Yeah, so you can see both waves now crashing into the tower. Mid is going to hit that mid tier 3. This bot tier 2 is going to drop. And while this will give Abbedagge an opportunity to clear the mid wave out as the bot wave arrives, this is how you generate that good pressure Hex Flash. We're not going to use anything though. Do we? Oh, look at the ward! Look at the ward!
Yeah, you can see it. You can circle it on the minimap. Vedius, show us the ward. The BrokenBlade is TPing into. Here comes the flank, inspired, not with the rest of Rogue. And here is BrokenBlade. Already Gilius already dead. Larssen pops the stopwatch. Gilius goes down. BrokenBlade pops the stopwatch of his own, but Neon has fallen. And although you're going to get Larssen, you're going to get wiped off the map. BrokenBlade, not too much he can do. A double for Odo in the front line once again. Limit, the only one left standing, limping away as Rogue look towards the Nexus. They look towards the second win in this series, and they look towards getting only 1 win away from G2 next week.
I like the attempt from Schalke. I think that fight is a good one, especially with BrokenBlade's access to the backline. Unfortunately, you now have to deal with Odoamne, who's also massacring your backline as well. Rogue were just too strong in the final fight. They executed well, and they will bring themselves to match point.
Fight as you might, Schalke, in the end, Rogue still come out on top.
We have a pretty interesting series on our hand, Medic.
Yep, blue side always wins.
Blue side always wins. Of course, Schalke are going to get side selection, likely going to bounce back onto that one. I will say that Rogue not looking as clean compared to their first game. Still some question marks around the performance of this team. But Schalke putting up a really strong fight. Their use of teleports this game was a joy to watch. They were ready to fight. BrokenBlade, again, having another fantastic performance. It's very reminiscent of yesterday's series where Armets just seemed to have the better of Wonder. Obviously, Odoamne is put in a lot of losing matchups. Yeah. But BrokenBlade is utilizing those winning matchups to great effectiveness. He is getting leads. He is trying to translate that into the rest of his team. And there are a couple of fights where his engages were spot on. It just wasn't quite enough, unfortunately, for the team. And that means that Rogue was able to come out on top. Very back and forth game, probably the closest one I would say of the series so far.
Yeah, you could see how much BrokenBlade was trying to do. Obviously coming off a win in the LCS last summer with TSM. He knows what it feels like to win in those biggest matches, and he's trying to carry Schalke to our finals weekend. We'll soon be back with Sjokz, Drakos and Kaiser for a look at the trends so far this series as Rogue are on match point.
feeling normal.
How did you get past the loading screen? You beat her!
You haven't got what it takes.
Come on!
The systems are overloading. We can't risk another game.
We need to take a break and regroup.
We're starting to lose our mind. Captain, we cannot go back to Elo Hell. Last time it took us months to get out of it.
Initiate break protocol.
Hurry up!
Yes! Yes! I did it! We did it! We did it!
Even the biggest champ needs a break.
Welcome back, everyone, to the LEC Spring Playoffs. Rogue, they have come back with a vengeance to the LEC Playoffs and are now one match away of making it to finals weekend, on the verge of making semifinals for the second season in a row. But before we get into the hard-hitting analysis, before the series, we looked at a couple of artworks, and there was some general disappointment that there was no artworks about our Lord and Savior Kaiser, and I hear that we had some. So some Renaissance-inspired drawings of Kaiser. First, Sud.
Okay.
Wow.
accurate depiction, that's for sure.
I like the mic that he has.
Beautiful.
He really nailed the mic.
Thank you so much, Sud. And secondly, Lara Lunardi, awesome. She's, of course, a great LEC correspondent. Oh,
That's more like
and an artist as well.
There you go. I like it.
Okay, I love it. Thank you so much for doing that. We love your artwork, and Kaiser has, of course, been doing a fantastic job, just like the close-up on him. So awkward. Let's get back to this series, though, and as said, Rogue coming back with a vengeance, now on match points. And let's talk a little bit specifically about that last game. And it felt to me, Kaiser, that this was a game in which you saw a lot of Rogue strength in terms of keeping their cool, playing out the map and the team fights correctly.
I mean, for sure. I think it came down to bot lane once again. I think the ganks that happened earlier in the game, like, set Kai'Sa super far behind. And after that, I think Hansama did a really great job of snowballing. Like, he found the Kai'Sa like 2 times in his jungle. He forced a flash. He just played extremely well. And in teamfights as well, like, Inspired was looking for like flanks almost always. Like, the Viktor had a really hard time to play the game. And yeah, I mean, Schalke still did a great job of like coming back like into it, because their comp was like it was kind of hard to execute. Like they had a lot of engage, but Rogue had a lot of disengage as well. So even though like they were super far behind, they could still look for picks and stuff like this. But in the end, like they were just too far behind and they couldn't win teamfights anymore. And then, yeah.
And I think one of the things that we saw that was a really big difficulty for Schalke was that a lot of their engages were super telegraphed. And even when they did finally find that Wukong flank in the final moments of the game, we felt like maybe this was the fight where they turned it. You see instant double Zanyas or double stopwatch essentially. Stops the engage in his tracks. Neon leaps into the backline, but the second that he burns that Kai'Sa Q, he's instantly dead, and Hansama just gets to rain terror on the rest of the fight. So as good as we've been, or as much as we've been praising Schalke for execution in a team fight, Rogue, once they got a lead, were so clean at denying so many of these opportunities from Schalke, even when they did find a pretty solid engage. Even when Limit finally was able to leap forward on Rell without getting interrupted by a Gragas, still Rogue were able to shut it down.
Yeah, let's look at some trends then. We've now seen 3 games, and even though Rogue is on match point, it can come back and go to a 5th game as well. First off, we talked about it so much before the series, and it also materialized in-game, the bot lane. It is so important both in the picks and bans that are going towards it, both in the lane matchups in the game, as well as the attention that's given to it from both teams.
So I think Rell is actually performing not too well right now. I think both teams are fighting good counters into it, like in the second game the Gragas, or like this game also Gragas, Syndra. It's really hard to engage on them because they can just knock you back. So maybe I want to see like some prior drop on Rell, like maybe don't pick it early, don't like maybe see a few picks first and then pick it, or like maybe even drop support to second rotation and then like pick maybe even suboptimal champions, maybe the Rakan or something. Maybe that could work better for Schalke, because right now I think they're getting countered every single time. Like the Kalista is working out now as like the engage is a bit hindered because like they ban Nocturne, you know, and then it's harder for them.
Yeah, and I was honestly really skeptical about how this Kalista pick was going to work. We saw repeatedly that it can get the lane priority, that it can come out on top, but as we moved later and later into the teamfight stage, I was worried that the execution wouldn't be there. But honestly, Hansama played those late game team fights fabulously. When there wasn't a Nocturne to kind of mess up his life or a Hecarim, it was very easy for him to be successful. And especially the back-to-back kills, waiting in a side lane, kind of independent of his support, making these massive plays is something that we really haven't seen from any other AD carries so far in playoffs.
No, that's true. And we've seen that both of these AD carries can pop off if they are given the right circumstances. But for now, it's been Hansama on a signature. Also, Kalista that has been better at that. I'd love to know also about kind of the top lane picks, because we've seen some different top lane picks, and we know that BrokenBlade has been a win condition for Schalke in the past. But are you ever going to be stronger, even if you're a very strong top laner, if there's a fed Kalista or a fed Kai'Sa on the other side? Like, is it even worth prioritizing that?
I mean, yeah, that's a difficulty right now for BrokenBlade, because he's always been a carry player, he's always been this strong side player. But right now, that's just not really the matter, right? You have a lot of blind picks on top lane that are just not really counterable. Like, for example, the Urgot, if you can, like, if the best pick into Urgot is Wukong, and I mean, he did win lane, right? But the Wukong, the Urgot, he can just go Ninja Tabis, he can just go Bramble Vest, and like, it's really hard for Wukong to keep snowballing, right? And in teamfights, if your bot lane is behind, if your mid lane is not like getting the damage off, then it's really hard for the Wukong to just carry a teamfight 1v5 like maybe an AD carry could.
Yeah, let's take a look at some of the key picks then in this series. Of course, we said it already in terms of the marksman, the Kalista and the Kai'Sa, but also the Hecarim, I think, has been incredibly important. And then the Rell, which I'm gathering that it's kind of a bait.
Yeah, I mean, for sure. I think it even showed in the Fnatic series against Schalke, like Limit had an insane Gragas performance, 3 games in a row, I think, even. So I think Rell blind pick, I don't like it too much anymore, especially because of the W nerfs. It's kind of a, yeah, I mean, it's, as you said, a bait. And
this is great. I mean, you got to keep the blood pumping. You're sitting down for such a long time.
Look, this man somehow won a game on Syndra, so I'm very impressed. Hansam, on the other hand, this is what he did all game. This is just a Kalista impersonation. That's a Kalista player life. You got to be able to do 1,000 of those if you want to pick the champion.
Love it. But I actually really love that we're seeing this because you got to keep the blood flowing if it's a long series. So let's then take stock of the win conditions for both teams. Usually we have 1, 2, 3, but it's actually fairly simple. Let's start with, I believe, Schalke. The win condition for Schalke. Drakos.
Yeah, ultimately, I think what we saw, the big difference from game 2 and any other game was how instant and how reliable Schalke's engage were. We saw in this game when there are ways to disrupt the Rell, she's not very useful. People have just gotten used to playing against this champion. She's also been nerfed repeatedly, even coming into playoffs, so she's just easier to play around. That said, the Nocturne, the Hecarim, they're friggin' unstoppable. Just go in, you push the button immediately, you can find those reliable paths into the backline, and you've seen that once they do, Neon and Abbedagge are more than equipped to follow up.
So reliable engage that is kind of simple to execute in a team.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, like it showed as well, the Ryze could follow up, the Viktor. He can't really dive deep, like he's more of a backline mage, so it's harder for him for sure.
Let's see what the options are for Schalke, because you have to be able to craft it according to the bans and the enemy composition as well.
Yeah, and the thing is that because we're in game 4, I think what was really rough for Schalke is that I believe Schalke can win this game. And a lot of the reason why I believe that is they can get blue side, they can get the priority picks that they want, right? It's their choice. Problem is when you go to game 5, you know Rogue are picking blue side again, so you need to not only have a plan for this game, you need to have a plan for red side in game 5.
I gotta cut you off because we gotta get to the Rogue win conditions. We've got 30 seconds. They are on match point. How do they win this next game and get into that finals weekend?
I think they just have to keep doing what they're doing. Maybe ban the Hecarim because it was a really big problem in the first red side game. So I think they just keep like stomping bot lane, I guess, picking this Kalista that really worked out for them. Just ban the engaged champions that are so easy for Schalke to execute, and then they should be winning.
Keep stomping bot lane. There we go. Rogue are just 1 win away from a showdown with G2 next Saturday as we return for game 4 and match point in a few minutes.